What's going on, Vapor fans? Welcome back to Item Spotlight. Today we have the brand new 2700 mod by Innokin. It's called the Oceanus, right? By Innokin. So, as always, we're going to dive down, get really close and personal with this item, and then I'm going to tell you as much insight as possible as I can. So you guys ready? Then let's go. Okay, so as always, we begin with our dive cam. Bow! Look at this thing. Whoa, this thing is big. This thing is pretty darn big. Oceanus. I'm gonna go ahead and just, put my palm on this thing and just, you know what I mean? Like, I'm 6'2", okay? This thing is, it's by far the biggest packaging by Innokin, and I dig it. I love it. I love what's going on in this one. So, the kit that I got with the Oceanus is going to come with the Scion tank. However, the Scion tank in this one is just going to be a tad different from the regular Scion tank, okay? I believe they upgraded the bottom pin a little bit. So, it has a tab on the side, and we're going to pull this out like so. Okay. Here we go. So when we open this up, we have innovation inside on the right side and then accessories on the right. I dig it. I dig it a lot. I've already played around with this thing a little bit, so you'll have to mind like one of the batteries is missing because I have it installed right now. It does come pre-uncharged, so you're gonna have to charge it up, okay? I will talk about the batteries in a little bit. So it does come with the Scion tank, and the Scion tank over here, okay, they upgraded the pin a little bit so that it's just a hairline protruding, while on the original Scion tanks, right, and the ones that came with the MVP and stuff is kind of in there, right? I'm using the one off of my old the MVP4, okay? Anyways, so this one also comes with a little rebuild portion, okay? So it has an RBA section over here, and I'm going to do this all the way at the end of the video, like after we sign off, okay? Because for those people who want to stay for the rebuild portion of this, okay, I will do a build together, and then we'll vape on it together, and then we'll see how it is, all right? But for now, I'm going to save that for the end of the video, because not everybody's into the rebuild stuff. But as far as the mod is concerned, let's finish up with the unboxing over here. So here's some accessories. It's going to come with like some quick charts and stuff like that, and then the an owner's manual and just briefly on how to use this item, okay? Now, this is a very, very simple item. Contrary to what people might believe about, like, things that are coming out new and whatever, this one actually doesn't have any temperature control in it. I don't know if it was intentional that way or if the item was a little bit rushed or anything like that, but basically it only comes in the wattage mode. Now, there is a couple of other modes that's in here, but the primary firing function is going to be in the wattage mode, okay? I do like this little tabletop setup over here that you could piece together, and then shops can pretty much display this thing. Comes with a little bit of wicking cotton over here, your standard USB cable, and then this is just your stickers and your authenticity stuff, and then a little battery card warnings and whatnot. Others, aside from the stickers, is just more warning and safety. This is actually not a user's manual, okay? Everything that you need to know is going to be on this card, and it's pretty much very simple. If you guys are already veteran vapors and users of other things, you're going to be able to pick this up and use it right away without really having to read anything. Everything's pretty intuitive. So let's move on and talk about the mod itself over here. I said that I would get to the batteries. Now, as far as the batteries is concerned, okay, these are pretty good batteries. We all know one thing, okay? No matter what the company right now, okay, at the moment, it doesn't matter what kind of wrappers, what it says or whatever, they're all Sanyo. You know what I mean? Because they came out with this architecture first. So pretty much it's all going to be the same. Because the Straight Volt show and stuff, we will be on the lookout for new brands and other models if it comes, you know, into play. But at the moment, this size is pretty much proprietary to just this brand. So I really wouldn't worry about like the labels of stuff and you know, if it says iJoy, if it says Amp King, if it says like whatever, it's pretty much the same battery inside. Okay, so I like the skins that comes with this thing. Now, please keep in mind, guys, that like these batteries are a little bit on the big side. Okay, so when I personally was using this on my VC4 charger, okay, I kind of had to go ahead and only use the outside ports, and I couldn't use the inside ports because they were like bumping into each other. So other than the tank and the RBA portion, also comes with a spare tank over here, but we're not going to go over the Scion tank because the Scion tank, you know, we've spoken about it, and it comes with a lot of different devices. We're just going to completely go over the just the Oceanus mod. So let's talk about the Oceanus mod over here, okay? Functions are a little bit different, but still very intuitive. As you guys already know with Innokin, 3 clicks on, 3 clicks off, so 1, 2, 3 for it to be off, and then 1, 2, 3 to turn back on, and then it gives you your little light show over here. The battery, I want to talk about this real quick, okay? For the port over here, this is the negative, this is the positive. Right, and I want to go ahead and bring out another mod in the past, and you guys might have caught this with many other mods, all right, and it's just wrong. It's just absolutely wrong. Okay, I agree. I think so. A lot of my friends think so. You know, Daniel DJLSB thinks so. The positive spring-loaded thing over here, no good. Don't do that. Okay, don't spring load the positive side for many reasons. Okay, but the main reason is because if you want to spring load any side, spring load the negative side, because the negative side is big and flat, while the positive side, you know, it could have been a button top battery, it could have been, you know, the likelihood of more damage over here. But the point is that, like, you know, the negative is right here and the positive is right here. It's like really close to each other. So don't do this springy architecture that can move or whatever that could dig into things on this side of the battery. Do it to this side of the battery where it's just all negative and all solid, right? So I don't know if somebody, you know, put in a word or to get it done correctly, but this is the first time I've seen it done right. See that the negative is the springy side over here. So we're going to go ahead and pop our battery back in. Sorry, guys. Pop our battery back in, and then close the magnetic door. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Have a little light show to turn on. Now, as far as the door over here, I'm not too crazy about the design of, like, you know, the magnetic door like this, because the way the battery is going to be inserted. I like the idea of, you know, batteries being inserted from a trap door at the bottom, so it just goes straight in and out, so that there's not really any chance of clipping or snagging the wrapper. You know, this is just a battery guy talking, so I prefer that. However, since they made it like this way with the battery door like done this way, right, I gotta say they made it very well. Okay, so they did do a good job of doing this. You know, it doesn't rattle, it doesn't, like, you know, have too much play or anything like that. But again, the way that batteries should be inserted and stuff, just for safety, just for, like, you know, overall stuff, because a lot of people buy OEM batteries, and OEM batteries come with terrible wrappers, okay, to the point where a lot of companies have to give, like, you know, aftermarket wrappers and tell you guys, hey, could you rewrap your batteries again, or possibly double wrap your batteries, you know, in case of setups like this that could cause possible snagging. However, I haven't seen much snagging in this one. This one is done pretty well. It's just the general nature of this kind of design that, like, I'm not crazy about, but what they did well. Okay, so moving on over here, let's talk about its features a little bit, right? So as always, guys, with Innokin products, you're going to push up or down, and then up, right? It's going to flash first before you could go ahead and start adjusting. And this thing can go all the way up to 110 watts before it round robins. So 110, and then it comes back down to 6 watts over here. And then we could go back up again, right? And then the same thing with the down button. Hold up and down at the same time. It'll give you your puff counter, right? Mine's is at 0, or it's going to toggle left hand and then right hand. Okay, not too crazy about the idea of the screen on. I mean, it doesn't bother me that much, but I know a lot of folks already used to like having the screen on this side, so it's more ambi. You know what I mean? But it doesn't look half bad. It doesn't look half bad. But as a more predominantly right-handed user, I don't know if I like it over here or if I like it over here, because when I thumb fire, you know, I'm not sure if like I like to look at it this way and then I have no screen, or, you know, you guys are more of a index finger firing and then, you know, you'd be able to see the screen more naturally this way. Really hard debate on this one, okay? Moving along, right? As always, if you push the power and the plus and the power at the same time, you could toggle between wattage mode or variable voltage mode. And I believe that like as far as toggling the power, wattage mode is kind of like toggling in centimeters, and voltage mode is kind of like toggling in inches. Okay, the increment of every 0.1 volt is a lot greater than every, you know, like few steps of wattage. But nonetheless, I'm going to hold this down and then it'll show you the voltage mode over here. I'm going to hold this down one more time, right? And then it's going to go into bypass mode. I've noticed a lot of Chinese companies have started to do like this bypass mode in their chips these days. And what it is, right? What's happening is that like it's allowing for a mechanical fire. So whatever the power is right now, like whatever juice that's in here, it's going to fire exactly 3.57 based on like whatever the coil is plus the voltage drop, and then just fire mechanically. Okay. I don't really see too much of the point of doing so. Perhaps the signal is going to be a lot more smoother, but these days I find that digital signals are made so well that there's no reason to really fire things mechanically, you know, unless this one is going to be firing more of like, you know, a PWM at a lower megahertz where like, you know, you're going to hear the rattlesnake, which I don't. So I find this a little bit on the redundant side, you know, meaning that like firing this thing in bypass mode or selecting this in voltage mode and just moving it to 3.5 or 3.6 volts or whatever is pretty much the same thing, you know. And being in the variable wattage or variable voltage mode, you're going to get less battery sag as opposed to, you know, firing in bypass mode. So bypass mode, very debatable in my opinion. I feel as if 2 years ago, you know, when digital signals wasn't very good, a bypass mode would be very, very good, because you would still have all the safety features of like, you know, a regulated device, like it'll tell you atomizer short, blah, 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 this and that, you know what I mean? While still be able to fire the bypass analog signal, which we all know this is exactly why, you know, a lot of enthusiasts still fire mechanically, whether you're using single tube mods or parallel mods or series box mods. Those unregulated mods are using an analog signal, and analog signals are very smooth, while pulse width modulation, you know, signals are like up and down, you know. But again, like I said, PWM chips these days are made so finely that it's really difficult to taste the difference, you know. So again, it does have this feature in there, but a little bit redundant in my opinion. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and then hold this so that we could go back to variable wattage again. Right now, at the bottom over here, there's a mod N and a mod P. All right, forgive me that the light doesn't stay on for too long. So the mod P stands for the powerful mode, and then there's a normal mode. So when you hold down like this, it'll toggle between the N, right, or the P. Okay, so what does the P do? The P gives you a little kick in the beginning, right? So if you have it on the P, it's kind of like vaping on powerful plus when it comes to like a E-cig chip, meaning that like it'll give you 20% more power to kick things off in the beginning, right? And then it'll back down to like whatever your setting is, right? While vaping it on N normal would just vape like any other variable wattage device. Okay, so other than this, let's take a look at a couple of the physical features on the Oceanus, right? So you got the screen over here on the side with a mirror finish, and then there's nothing over here other than saying the by Innokin, your USB cable at the bottom over here, and then your 510 connection pin, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and give this thing a little stab over here to see if it's spring-loaded, and it is. So spring-loaded, nice spring-loaded connection. Yeah, that's pretty much all the features and all there is to know about the Oceanus mod. This thing, I believe, is really focusing on the power perspectives. Okay, so here we are at the screen cap with the dive cam at the same time. And what we're going to do is that we're going to hook up our little Scion tank by Innokin, and this thing is going to be at 0.5 ohms. So we're going to go ahead and crank this mother up. Whoops, wrong way. So let's crank this up. And this thing's supposed to go all the way up to 110 watts, correct? Correct. So what are we reading over here? 0.52. Okay, and when you hit the fire button, okay, the mod P will change to exactly what the voltage is supposed to be. All right, so let's just see if the device itself is calibrated, is doing its own calculations correctly. 7.5 at 0.53 resistance, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put 0.53 resistance and then the voltage at 7.5. Calculate. We have 106 over here. Okay, so a little bit off from what it is. If not, then it is because of the resistance of the coil itself, and we are hitting a voltage cap over here of 7.5, right? Which makes sense because we're running a single battery and it's probably got some capacitors inside trying to boost it up, but 7.5 is probably its maximum over here. Okay, so when we go over and open up a second Ohm's law calculator, I'm going to go ahead and show you the actual voltage that's being fired at the coil. 7.38, 7.36, right? So again, at a 0.53 coil, excuse me, let me put this correctly. 0.53 coil over here, right? And the voltage is, one more time, 7.36, 7.36, like so, and we calculate it's more like 102 watts. So this one, guys, yeah, maybe if the coil was a little bit lower and we're not voltage capping over here, then this thing might be a little bit more accurate. But this time on, this is the first Innokin item that I've tested recently that is a little bit on the off side. Now, it isn't as ridiculously off as some of the promised mods, like, you know, Sigelli in the past, and some of the Smock products, whatever, where they promised 220 watts, but it's only actually firing 160. So we're not off by like a ridiculous amount. Okay, this is probably just like, you know, a 7.5 voltage cap issue. So it goes all the way up to 110. I don't really see anybody, you know, vaping this thing at 110, 100, you know, whatever anyways, right? Especially, you know, for a single battery device. If you wanted something more powerful than that, you definitely go to a twin battery series setup. So yeah, guys, definitely still within reasonable parameters on this one, although it's not like the other Innokin products where, you know, it is what it promises at 100% accuracy. This one is a little bit off, so I gotta say that the accuracy of this one is probably just in the high 90s. All right, guys, so we're over here at the screen cap, and if we do a quick Google search of the Innokin Oceanus, you can see that it's coming to a lot of online retailers, my vapor store over here, but it's currently out of stock and coming soon because it's such a new item. But if we check out other websites over here, you can see like what the possible upcoming price would be. So I don't know if this is just, you know, really what the launch price originally was, but a lot of them go for around like the $60 mark. So $58.60 over here, and then on the Smoke Store, $58.60, and I also found it on 3F Vape for $45.99. Okay, so, you know, if you could get it for cheaper, definitely get it for cheaper. But let's come back up to the top cam and let me give you my final thoughts on this device. All right, guys, we're back. So I have the Fogworks slider sitting on top of the Oceanus, and let's give it a vape. Nice 40 watt setting. So What I want to say about this thing, right, is that you guys remember back when the Pioneer for You was really killing it, coming out with like all sorts of cool mods and stuff, and they had the styling, they had the chips, and they had the right price point, but it wasn't until they released the D2 that like, wow, like everybody had to have one. It was sleek, it was small, it was a single battery, it fit in the palm of your hand. It did a lot of, you know, what your average vapor really needed. And this one really takes it to the next step. For me personally, right, I'm just a regular wattage vapor. You know, I like the idea, and I've said it over and over again, okay, that like, you know, you may not necessarily want temperature control, but you definitely want temperature control in your mod because it allows for, it generally allows the mod to fire lower coils. However, this one doesn't have any issues at all because this one is actually able to fire at 0.1 ohm coils, which is just as low as like, you know, early DNA mods and stuff like that, which was phenomenal at the time. I dig this one very much. I like the single battery. I don't know if 2700s will catch on. They are pretty big at the moment. I kind of sort of feel as if like we might have to get some dedicated chargers for this size of the battery, and I definitely also want to see more brands such as, you know, Samsung and LG come out with their response to 2700. So, you know, this because the fact of that this thing is only being produced by Sanyo at the moment is still very questionable whether or not this battery architecture would catch on. But I definitely feel as if like the specification of this battery really fills the mid-range vapor, you know what I mean? Which is like you want to run single battery so that the mod isn't too big in your hand, yet you need a reasonable amount of milliamp hours. All right, guys, so final thoughts on this little guy. Do I think it's a reasonable pickup, and would I get one myself even if I wasn't a reviewer? Yeah, I would. This one's pretty good, and it comes with a lot of stuff. It comes with 2 batteries, it comes with 2 skins, and I gotta be honest with you guys, you know, many of you out there who are collectors who went from, you know, the E-Leaf Ice Stick to a Q-Boy to a Smock Priv to like, you know what I mean? You're just collecting stuff and you're just moving along, you know. To be honest, the 2 batteries that come with this, by the time you're done with these 2 batteries, you're probably done with this mod anyways and moved on to something else, you know? So when you go ahead and buy this kit, right, and it comes with, you know, the Scion tank with the RBA section and everything, yeah, it's a pretty comprehensive, it's a pretty complete little kit, and I think it really is worth the $60 even if you don't get it on 3F Vape for the 45. Yeah, definitely recommend this item. And for those of you who want to stay tuned for the build section, we'll be right back with that. But as we always say here on PVA, question everything, do your homework, and vape clever, everyone. Take care. All right, guys, welcome to the up and close build portion of the show. So this was the RBA section that we were talking about. Uses a velocity post. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the chimney cap over here and show you the velocity post. Okay, very simple, very reminiscent of kind of like a Griffin type of setup. All right, so with me over here I have a couple of Pegasus pre-built fuse Clapton. Right, these are 28 core wrapped 228 core, excuse me, wrapped in 40s. All right, so I believe it will be a very flavorful setup. This is a little baggie that it came with, right, and it's going to have the little blue infamous screwdriver, except in a hex version, and comes with a couple of Clapton coils in here as well. But I don't know, I don't like them. If I go ahead and focus this one for you guys real quick, you'll see exactly what I mean. See that? It's not great. It's not great. You see the huge gaps in there, right? And then the wrapping wire is kind of thick. Yeah, it's gonna work, but I don't know. It's just not great. I'm not gonna use these. So we're just going to keep the little blue screwdriver and of course the Scion tank. So the Scion tank, I'm gonna go ahead and split this up, take out the pre-built coil that's in here and set this base on the side, and we're going to go ahead and work with that. So first things first, let's release the screws. Okay, so we have nice openings over here. All right, guys, remember to get your flush cutters ready. So I have mine on the side, and let's open this up. There we go. Okay, so I have my 2 coils ready over here. So I'm going to install like so. Okay. Now, I used to install both coils at the same time, but then I realized that it's pretty much better just to, you know, balance it exactly, the coil where you would like it to be over on top of the airflow. And let's tighten this up. Okay. Then I'm going to stick my screwdriver back in here, and just for height, back it up a little bit so it's nice and tight. See, now it's aligned with where the airflow is. I'm going to adjust the height later on, but for now we're going to clip these. See this? These are snips that you'll find on PVA, and you'll notice that when you snip with these, they fold over, so stuff doesn't just go flying all over the place. All right, let's do the other side. Up, top and bottom. Okay. The coils that I'm using are 3/16 stainless. I kind of like stainless because of the you know, the dual option to you know, go temperature coil if you like, or wattage mode if you like. You don't have to worry too much about, like, you know, producing too many chemicals or whatever. Okay. Boom. All right, let's snip this off. Let's snip this off. See, they don't go flying. All right, so I had this balanced and adjusted. I'm gonna stick my screwdriver in here, balance and adjust this one. Okay. Okay. There we go. Now, what we're going to do is take this and put it back in the atomizer. Okay. And then we're going to work out the hot spots. Because this is a stainless coil, what you want to do is definitely, whoa, not 110 watts. Okay, let's round robin this thing actually. Let's go to just like maybe 20 watts. Okay. Because we just need it to glow a little bit. You know, let's find out where the hot area is. Okay. Just need to pulse on through, and I'm getting a nice color right now. All right, let's wick this up. Okay. Make sure that it's nice and snug, but it's not choking the coil. Yes, do this side, do this side. Tuck, tuck. Let's get a little bit of juice going. We're firing at a 0.2 ohm coil, so I think appropriate wattage would be about 50 watts at least. And let's give this thing a test fire. Oh yeah. So let's come back to putting the chimney cap back on, and then spin on the top. Release the top, fill in our juice. I gotta say that before I close this thing up, okay, stuff like this, okay, is a very, very open and simple design, but keep in mind, okay, that these types of designs have pressure issues. All right, because what happens is that once I put this cap back on and then spin it down, I'm going to be adding pressure into the chamber over here, and that could potentially cause flooding. So this has always been a questionable design to me. Okay, it is okay if like you didn't prime your coils, and then, you know, especially if you're using pre-made coils and they're not primed yet, so that you go ahead and then you fill this to the brim. This adds a little bit of pressure, helps to prime the coils for the first time. But as far as refilling juice and stuff like that, these are the times where it gets questionable to me, and I feel as if the best thing to do is to put on just a couple of threads, turn it around, and then finish your threads. Then come back and adjust for airflow. Alright guys, so what do I think about the RBA section? Really nice. It's just like the Griffin without any leaking issues, really. I like the Scion tank. I like the Scion tank very much. I wish the bottom pin was more of a screw that was adjustable, and that I feel as if it's a great little atomizer. The pre-built coils on this thing, okay, I was very surprised, because usually what happens is that a triple coil system is going to be quite the guzzler, plus it's super, super hot. This thing, still the guzzler, it is what it is, but it's not as hot as, say, you know, products by E-Leaf and some of the smoke coils, right? Because I think those use a lot more metal inside of them building the triple coil setups, and this one surprisingly not as hot. As far as the RBA section on this one, also not bad. I was able to chain on it quite a few times without it heating up too much. Heat dissipation is just a very big deal in my book, because, you know, sometimes when you're amongst friends and you're drinking and you're just like, you know, you tend to chain vape, and I hate when I have something where, like, you know, after 6 or 8 hits, I absolutely have to put it down because it just got way too hot. Now, the only thing that I wanted to mention was exactly the top fill port method, okay? Things that unscrew from the top allow you to fill the port, true, very convenient, but things that flip back into it, or, you know, have to screw back down, they add pressure to the tank. So initially I did get a little bit of flooding, and what happens is that the tiny bit of flooding, right, when I first fired the coils, I did get like a little bit of spit back from that, okay? So, you know, getting stung a few times is never like a comfortable thing. However, after, you know, it's the heat caught up and it worked itself out or whatever, very nice smooth pulls. However, I know the next time I go ahead and I fill this tank, if I don't, you know, give it just a little bit of threads, flip it around right away so that the juice falls back down, and then you know, seal it, which is kind of a pain to fill the tank. I'm going to flood the coils again, just ever so slightly, you know. So definitely, I find like just the only flaw in this tank is the pressure system issue. Okay, I think more things have to seal from like a sliding method, because that way there's no added pressure into the tank. And other than that, then I think it's an absolutely flawless tank. So that's it for the RBA section, guys. And I'm glad for all of you who stayed for the end portion of this video. Thank you all, and God bless.